Okay, so this is Wednesday, September 15th. First thing we want to do is finish the organizational levels of life handout. And I stopped last time when we got to the level of individual. And we'll go from individual down through biome, um, which begins our unit basically on ecology. So, under the little bubble for an organism, of course, they've got a human stick figure drawn there. So, any organism that we think of normally as a multicellular organism would have organ systems. Now, when we're talking about an organism, of course, we're usually talking about a distinct species, which is one of the terms we define. Species are organisms that can reproduce and produce fertile offspring to carry on the next generation. For species on Earth, we've labeled, identified, named, whatever you want to say, about 1.2 million, 1.2 times 10 to the sixth organisms. Most of those happen to be insects. Uh, but we estimate that there's about 8.7 million organisms on Earth, so most of them haven't been identified. Thank you. Okay, so let's go on to the next level of organization, which is community or population. I'm sorry, population first. So again, they drew in sort of a family unit or part of the human population. It's a group of members of the same species that live in the same area. In terms of examples, I always give, let's call the 10 acres of the Rose Hill property and identify populations. So we could say the population of cardinals that live in this particular area, or the population of oak trees in the same space. Okay, so members of the same species. Then we go down to community. This is a group of populations of various species that share the same habitat. So all the living things, again, in a similar or in the same habitat. And habitat is defined as everything an organism needs to make a home, and generally includes shelter, food, water, and space, simple, enough space to exist in. Okay, after community, we go to ecosystem. And for the first time, you bring in living and non living things in an ecosystem. And an example of common ecosystems that you would know of would be a swamp, a prairie, a forest, a coral reef, maybe something you read about. But an ecosystem can literally be as small as an aquarium in a classroom. I don't have one in here anymore, but an aquarium, because you are including the living things as well as the non living things. So the abiotic factors, weather, water, land conditions, are included with all the living things in a specific area. Larger than an ecosystem is a biome. There are 5 major types of biomes. Put this in as the examples. You have aquatic, grasslands, forest, desert, and tundra. So a biome is going to cover a relatively large area of the biosphere, and biome is usually defined by climate. Okay, remember, climate is different than weather. Climate includes rainfall and temperature, but over a long period of time so that you get a total picture of the area. And then, of course, even though they don't list it, the largest organizational level is the biosphere. So biosphere is anywhere on Earth that an organism can exist. So that also includes the atmosphere. And so biosphere, it would be added as the largest layer. That's all for this topic.